Okay. So basically, there are the 3 steps. These 3 steps haven't really changed over the past couple months. I haven't really talked that much to you about this, but we've talked about it a little bit, even though this is like a 4-month-old discovery. This is xzaayzyx, azyx, and xzaayzyx. Obviously, you understand the 3 steps in the middle of the framework, as well as being the 3 rungs in the story. There are also these 3 things. Zyx serves as... Should I just start from the beginning? I think you get the PT though, but basically what it comes down to is you have the first step of the framework, which is PT which is you want to experience best thought textures, and everything you do is to experience best thought textures, and that actively, if you ever think that something that you do is not because you're trying to take the best thought texture, then you need to make it because it is, because you need to be adhering to the maximum efficiency principle. That's step 1. That's the entirety of step 1. In the framework, what that typically serves as is you just understand it, and you go, yes, I am serving the MEP, and also all of my actions are a result of the MEP. That's pretty much what step 1 looks like. Step 2 is Zyx. And now here's the weird part. We need to catalyze the framework versions of these into the story. If you see what I'm saying. We need to take the framework realizations of Zyx, azyx, and xzaayzyx, and we need to somehow imprint that into the story if we can.
Well, didn't we do that before with the universe or the person and the simulation?
No, that's not what I mean. I mean the framework version of these things.
Well, then wouldn't that be where the main character comes in and tells people about it?
No.
So then what are you talking about?
I'm talking about, like, for instance, you need to involve in the story that Zyx is the framework version, and here's what I mean by that. The experience of Zyx is not the definition of Zyx. The definition of Zyx is gone over in the story. That's what I think you were just talking about. The experience of Zyx, which is what I'm talking about, which needs to be implemented into the story, is the feeling of almost becoming aware of yourself. The experience of the step Zyx is that you realize, okay, I am a Zyx, but you don't just realize that definitionally. It's the actual experience of becoming aware of your own thoughts and becoming aware that there are all of these individuals within God.
Wouldn't that be where the main character is? Like that's realization? And you understand it from his perspective, what this is, and then
I mean, there's complicated, there's Zyx, and there's also acythrial. I mean, you could say they're both experiencing it. Technically, they're both within the calculation. Neither one is on really a different level of meta when you get down to the nitty-gritty.
Well, it's like the Zyx in the simulation, the obvious one, but acythrial, when he comes out of it, and after he's experienced all of them, the idea with the story is that he tells them how to utilize it. He tells them how to use these frameworks and what does this mean and all that.
Yeah.
After having already learned the previous first-hand experience of what
yes.
it's like.
Yeah, you could just literally do it like that. It's a good idea, as far as literally just being like, you can just explain it like how it is. But anyways, I'm going to continue explaining them regardless, and then we can just do what you said, but then also, god damn it, something else I was going to say just now. Son of a bitch. Regardless. We have the experience of Zyx, which is the experience of... So here's the thing that I am experiencing. My framework needs attachment to a story. It's done. The pieces are done. The pieces explain themselves. And now what you need for animation, returning to what we said a year ago, which was, it needs to be a mythology. It needs to be a story. The story is what needs to carry the thought textures of the framework. You have the practical experiences and the knowledge that you gain along your religious journey, but you can't explain each individual thing, because then you just sound like a retard explaining these levels of nuances that most people can't understand to begin with. You sound like you're saying nothing at all. So instead you put it within the confines of mythology, like every other religious person who's ever lived, and then that can hold all of the metaphysical context that you need. And instead of trying to make Zyx mean something philosophically, instead of trying to be like, well, Zyx is technically separate from an azyx, because instead of trying to do what we used to there, where you tried to make things actually individual, and when you got to understanding each individual level of the thing, then you got to metaphysical realization. Or you could just say, oh, guess what, there are no levels, which is useless, because when you're saying that, then you're saying nothing at all, even though it's true. So what you do instead is you paint the levels with the mythology, and that's what I need right now. For my framework to work, I need the levels. Not just for everyone else, but for me right now. That's what this framework's missing. And we've got the steps. Everything makes sense. The TT and EP is truly the motivation for not only most human things, but is also the root of our entire philosophy. It is what we said even before we knew about God, that what we seek to, what we shook, whatever the fuck the proper phrasing of that is, was the best thought texture. We said that not only was it already, but that what we should actively do, and what every human should actively strive to do, is to achieve the best thought texture, that is what was religiously good before we ever even believed in a God, where we were trying to build an entire religion off of doing what was best for you, like divine selfishness, as we so phrased it now, but that's what we were always seeking, literally from the beginning, from before we ever had any, like, sub-1 religious realizations, before any of that. We were, well, no, it would have been after sub-1, but it would have been before any concretized version of a God.
Well, for me, it was way before sub-1.
You're right, it was before sub-1, because I suppose this wouldn't have been considered even religious, but mindset switching would have been far before sub-1.
Yeah.
And that was...
When we were just like merely talking about philosophy and politics.
Yeah, and it was still the TTMEP. And really, when you go back to even when we were 10 years old watching murder videos, we were still following the TTMEP.
Yeah.
So that's weird. So that is the first step, and that encapsulates a lot of weight. This also encapsulates the core concept I was talking about, where it's like, you need to figure out what is at the very core of your being, and every act needs to be dictated by it to be a solid person. And the core of our being is the TTMEP, or at least it should be at all times, and if it's not, you're failing. And so that's like the buy-in to the religion. That's like the pure materialist buy-in. No religion yet. The first step to buying into the religion is you need to accept that you want the best thought texture, and that's all you care about, and that truth is irrelevant, and that all that matters is the best thought texture. That's step 1. Step 2. This is xzaayzyx. This is the one that where we start getting a little weirder. TTMEP is at least explainable if you're intelligent. Step 2, you may be intelligent and still not get this one, which is that's the job of the story. But this one is xzaayzyx, and now this is saying, I'll just put it in the lens of the story. This is saying that you exist, and that you, obviously, are individual, right? It's basically saying your illusion of individuality, sure, we'll say that it's real for now, because it seems self-evident. When you're an individual and you exist, when you're in fucking Getty Land and you're playing Big Bass Bucks or whatever, and you're standing next to the fat ass shoving sweet rolls in his mouth, you know what I'm saying? You feel like a different human being. You don't experience his taste. He doesn't experience you winning 1,000 fucking V-Bucks, right? They're separate. You feel separate. You feel like you have your own individual bubble of experience, and that it is completely independent from everyone else's bubble. Right now, I feel as if my bubble of experience is different from yours, and that we are different people. And that's xzaayzyx. Xzaayzyx is the illusion of independence, the illusion of individual experience. But he doesn't even posit it as an illusion. Xzaayzyx posits it just straight up. Just that you are you, and other people are other people, and that each individual one is xzaayzyx. Now, in the story, you understand that that is used by the scientist as a useful terminology, but that even the scientists, towards the end of the story, begin to understand there really is no difference between xzaayzyx and azyx. They become xzaayzyx, or xzaayzyx, which is the final step. And there's no true separation between steps 1 and 2, because both are step 3. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. God, I love the sound of thunder. Yeah, so that's what Oppenheimer's bomb sounded like. It sounded just like thunder in the movie. But yeah, so you have xzaayzyx, and that's just the illusion of individual self. And then you have azyx, and this is the illusion of individual things, right? You have, oh, that plant is different from that wall, is different from my brain, right? All these things are individual things, and they're tangibly different, and I know they're different. They must be different. I know that wood is different from dirt. They must be different things. From the moment I've been born, they've been categorized as completely different. And obviously, you get into the gay Buddhism. Well, actually, there is no individual thing. There is no individual you. And this is the last step. This is xzaayzyx. The experience of xzaayzyx is the experience of truly realizing that there is no you. And in the story, right, that is just posited as saying, well, there is no you. You is an illusion. And each individual experience which calls itself you is only the wider self deluding itself into thinking that that experience is real. The computer simulating the experience of individuality, goddammit. And that sounds self-evident. But in practice, that can be extremely difficult to apply. And so that's why we need to go over the experience of azyx, and the experience of Zyx, and the experience of xzaayzyx. So the experience of Zyx is not just understanding that you are not you, but it's also, in the moment, truly separating yourself from the experiences which call themselves you, and instantly understanding that those are just a part of the greater thing. And that's a very weird experience. Whenever you start instantly separating yourselves from your thoughts as they flow by. And then you have azyx. And this step is the step of actively realizing each individual feeling. The feeling of my fingers brushing against my hand, the feeling of my pants against my leg, the feeling of literally hearing the rain. Not the experience, not the metacognitive experience of hearing the rain, but the actual sound waves bouncing off my eardrums. You understand those individual frameworks, those individual experiences as only sensory data formed in a particular way of the experience. And that's azyx, that's the experience of azyx. And then you finally have the experience of xzaayzyx. And this isn't the experience of being a greater thing as much as it is the experience of truly understanding every single neurosecond, every single moment, every single jump which tries to claim, I am the one above all these experiences which think they are not you. I am the true you. Every single moment, every single possible iteration that your mind could form is instantly dissolved into the acid bath of simply understanding that you and every illusion of you, every iteration of you, every possible hill of experience is only a part of the greater hill of experience. As the story would say, a part of the computer mimicking you, crafting itself into you just to experience this particular moment. And this leads us to the final step, which is the will to taste, which says not only are you not you, and not only are you everything, and not only can there be no definable you, but in this case, you must be everything. And that you are actively everything. And that these moments are just everything contorting itself into you for the pleasure of experiencing these moments. Which leads you to the wormhole, which isn't technically an individual step, but only the experience of the connection of steps 1 and 5, the connection of the understanding that you are you and that simultaneously you are everything, and the understanding that both of these are not clashing against each other, they are not a contradiction, but that they are simultaneously true, that you, the greater self, is you, the minor self, because you have expanded into these regions, and it is simply one will, one reach, and whenever you understand this, then there is no separation, and there is only bliss, there is nirvana, and that is the story that the story attempts to tell. God, religious speech is a high of its own.
Yeah, as far as incorporating that into the story, that should be where the main character's role is. Him realizing that.
The whole story needs to be that. That needs to be the point of the whole story. Every single word, every single line of the story needs to be about hammering those feelings home.
Yeah, and so the idea would be everyone else is seeing the orb for the first time, or it's been a few years or whatever, and they've seen the simulation, and they're going insane, and they don't know how to handle it. And so here's this guy he's been struggling to handle it for the last 50 years or whatever, or however long he's had it, and they haven't. And now that he has it, I think the last idea we had was that he had the simulation in him, so he was constantly getting surges of infinity, and he didn't know how to handle that. So his story is realizing how to work through frameworks to control what it means to be in a reality and to be happiest within it. And so now, later, once he becomes stable enough, then everyone else gets access to the simulation when the government releases it. And now everyone else has the simulation, and they're going mad, they're going insane, they're struggling with what he dealt with the first time he dealt with it.
Well, before we were going to make it intentional, we should definitely make it not intentional. It's so clear to me right now. before we were going to make it, the government released it intentionally, and now maybe we still need elements of them at least trying to do it at first so that we keep the coherence of the story and the reason why they had him on in the first place. But maybe we don't. Maybe we scrap that entirely, and that's the reason he breaks from the program anyways, is because he wants to let people experience it. And then perhaps maybe we don't make him go insane yet. Perhaps we make him be no, because we still need him to go insane from it at first. We need him to be negatively affected by the experiences because we need him to experience. But perhaps we have him initially being tortured by it because the government is forcing him into it, and then we have him experiencing the man within the simulation. So he now begins to have religious experiences. He discovers the man who says there is you, there is the thought textures, there are like the individual things which make the thought textures. Reality crafts these thought textures, and then there is the collection of all experiences. Right, the man who says that there is you who strives to taste the best thought texture, there are thought textures, and then there is the will to taste the best thought texture, which is all reality. The man who speaks only of religion. This man, I say he is discovered by the main character, and that when the main character discovers this character, it gives him newfound religious freedom, and he is no longer tortured. Perhaps he doesn't escape the government because he is tortured. Perhaps his whole life he dreams of escaping the government. You know what I mean? Like an 18-year-old who dreams of the day he can finally escape, and then by the time he's 18, his relationship with his parents is already so fixed, he doesn't even want to escape. But perhaps he does it for different reasons. Perhaps he no longer escapes because he's tortured, but because he wants to release the information to the public. Perhaps he is the reason that the information is released to the public, and then maybe he's responsible for the insanity which is wreaked. Perhaps maybe he retires from the public life specifically because he doesn't want to deal with the consequences of driving most of society insane. Or, no, perhaps we can't do that because now he needs to be responsible for spreading the word of the madman that he found in the simulation in the first place. He now is responsible for curing everybody by spreading the knowledge that he gained, the knowledge which makes him experience the simulation as bliss in the first place. So we can't have him run away yet, but perhaps we can just change the line of events and make the event in which he discovers the man happen later on down the line. I don't know which way we want to play him discovering it and initially being torturous and then him wanting to escape. We can arrange the events in whatever order we see fit, but yes, definitely. So much potential here.
Yeah.
Also, something I just saw while you were talking, was that, you know how we talked about how insults need to be as visually expressive as possible? Such an obvious framework, but just that obviously religious speech and all speech needs to be the same way, but especially religious speech. Yeah. Whenever you're talking about frameworks and the way that they feel and the way that you're experiencing them, you need to make it as visually impressive as possible, which is fascinating.
Also, with the story, I've learned this in 4th grade show, don't tell. It's visual as possible.
Yeah. So what is the name for this framework? Visual speech? Pretty simple. I mean, works, which should be a better name. This framework's really good. This is the first, independent framework we've found in a long time. That has nothing to do with religion or anything.
I would call it the Show Don't Tell framework.
Show Don't Tell, it's good, yeah. Sweet. Show Don't Tell. There's a new framework in the bag, and then so now we should go back to the actual chronological events. What were you saying before that?
So you're saying he's the one that releases it to the public at the beginning, and he's been a part of this project for a long time. He sees it's unethical for the government to have kept.
I was saying any combination of you have him at the beginning, and he's initially tortured. I think I definitely want that. I definitely want that to say I want him to be like a child who the government has raised his entire life. I want it to have the tone of Evangelion. He's a kid who doesn't understand why he's there, and he's only being used because the government needed to make something which wasn't technically human so they could get away with these experiments. And he's not treated like a human because he can't be, because he's just a government project. And he doesn't really understand why he's there, and he doesn't like being there. And he probably wishes he could live some normal life, but then he doesn't even really understand the concept of normality because he's not like some regular child put in a cage who sees the outside from inside, but he sees truly outside. He doesn't just see outside the barrier of his facility, he sees outside the barrier of dimensions. He sees literally all the different lives that you could possibly lead. To him, there probably is no even concept of normality left. It's all been shattered. You know what I mean? I guess he probably wishes he could live just like some Earth kid, but he's probably seen even better lives than Earth kids. He's probably experienced heavens. He probably doesn't even want that. His whole life and perspective has probably been ruined, and he probably wishes he could just have a normal perspective. You know what I mean? He wishes he could forget everything he's learned here and just go back to the perspective of a normal child. And that's what the first 14, 18 years of his life should be that we should write about. They should just be relatively hellish, angsty teen experiencing infinity through the forced lens of the government.
But what does that actually look like? Is it him screaming?
Not screaming, but literally, if you'd go over his metacognitive experiences of different realities.
Yeah.
which is a great, tool to experience religion, right? Most people do. Most people would experience their lives, and they would experience their lives as hell. And that's basically what he's doing. He's experiencing all of these lives as hell. He's experiencing, he is like a mini god, right? He's experiencing all of these people's lives, and he can serve for us as a conduit, as the unexperienced religious person experiencing lives. Because he has no way to interact with them. So he'll just be like he'll be like a kid experiencing life and hating it. Like most people, you know what I mean? And he can literally experience adult lives and hate it from the perspective of a kid.
And so after that, he's not a big fan of the simulation, and he's got all of
Not a big fan, but then he stumbles across
the one dude. So he learns about the one dude, then he learns from that experience, and then I guess he maybe frameworks that on his own in his off time when the government gives him free time in his box or whatever. I don't know how hellish is his living conditions exactly.
I mean, that obviously no clue yet. That's completely up to how we want to write it and how it comes out on paper as we're writing it, because that really is something that it would be decided now. But it's something like, I think, they're not trying to torture him. I would say you even make the guards and stuff nice. Like, they shouldn't be mean, but it's a futuristic, technologically advanced society.
They can give him like a penthouse and stuff.
Exactly, right? Yeah. They shouldn't be. It's not a cage. He lives in the most luxurious conditions. He can eat whatever he wants. They give him fruit and technological access, and he gets to watch everyone. Like, I think that's what the tone it should be. Like they should be trying to be friendly to him, but also be like, son, you're the future of humanity. You are the God Project. We depend on you.
But that penthouse turns into just a miserable...
into his hell. Place. Yeah, and not just the penthouse, but the idea that not only is he stuck within the penthouse, but that also that he doesn't even like dimension diving. Right? That's another hell. He's not just trapped inside. He has more freedom than any human being could ever imagine, and he just wishes he could shut it off.
That's a very interesting parallel between... There's this other world, and there's this world, and I can't find enjoyment in any of them.
And we just wish we could escape to the infinity, yeah. It's the exact opposite perspective.
And, okay, so from that, he eventually
he meets the guy. Well, no, the guy is the stabilization point, I think. And maybe we make it where he goes through, like, he's like had our type of religious journey, or it's just very off and on, and he has points where he's like, I finally enjoy reality, and then he gets struck back down, and he's like, I fucking hate all of you, I just want to kill you.
Well, he learned some lessons here and there, but finally, this one dude who figured out in the simulation.
He's like, oh my god, this guy got
and then maybe we see a scene where, like, he's at his house, and he's, like, writing all this down and stuff, and you see him, like, writing the hand and stuff.
Not even writing it down, I think, as much as you see his angst finally turn into happiness. And I would say you could even do these scenes as reactions from the guards, even. As being like, what has gotten into him? Something is wrong. Like, we don't... Like it's good that he's happy, but we don't know what's happening. This is not good.
Yeah, when you're depressed watching Infinity for 20 years, and then all of a sudden
you just have a big smile on your face. What does he know? Exactly, yeah. And maybe we even make it where, like, the guards can, like, watch, but they couldn't experience. So maybe all that the guards see is just someone meditating in a room, and that's all they see, and then the kid experiences it all. He's hooked. He's the first one who gets hijacked into the machine, you know what I mean, from birth. So he's the only one that can actually experience that simulation, and he experiences what that man meditating experiences. And then suddenly you just see his face light up with a gigantic smile. And then from here we can write it however we want. But like I said, I don't even know if that's how we should play it, because if we play it that way, where when he's like 18 he experiences the man, then you have to make it where the guy can never dip out of the public life. Maybe that's fine. Maybe we make it where he never does dip out of the public life. Maybe we make it where, like his whole thing, or maybe he does have to dip out of the public life only to run away and try and post all this on the internet. So maybe the government finally is like, listen, we're not going to kill you for treason. We know you release government secrets, and you even put out a fucking pirate link on the internet to where people could clone their own infinity, which went horribly wrong and killed like 50% of the fight.
Maybe that's what he's doing. He runs away to basically build
Yeah, this is perfect, dude. He literally runs away to try and expose humanity to what he's seen, and they can't take it.
Yeah, and to build his own infinity and, like, distribute it to the rest of the galaxy or whatever.
Yeah, and he has to try and stay away from the government, which means it's not easy to publish his religious beliefs or anything. Yeah.
And from there, he has, I guess, with selling it or with distributing the simulation, he has to teach people how to use it in the frameworks that he's learned.
Dude, you could even do... This is what it was going to be before, I think. You could have 3 different characters, where you have initial stage, which is the torture guy. Then you have the middle stage, which is xzaayzyx, explaining the entire religion. And then you have a third stage, which is the kid, now all grown up, understanding his place in the world, releases the information. And then you have a 4th act, which is a different guy in the world. So now maybe the government kills him or puts him on ice or puts him in prison actually now after he does treason and releases the government secrets. And now you have a fourth stage, which is just some other guy in the world trying to come to terms with it. I do think that's too many layers, though. But it is weird if you have a guy who is like God and you're trying to explain the religion.
I guess you could have him have like an apprentice or something, like someone.
But then that gets even weirder than just having a fourth layer.
Wasn't the guy in the simulation supposed to be like a lizard?
Yeah.
I mean, be like a lizard monk.
He doesn't need to be, but my initial take wasn't that he was going to be meditating. My initial take would be that he was a guy in the middle of like a world war or intergalactic war. That's what we were talking about on the beat.
Interesting.
That was whenever me and Ryan got into a hallowed argument. But that's what we were talking about. We were talking about the empires and how they were going to touch and how there was going to be a intergalactic war the Lizard Man was just a part of, and how he started with sticks and stones on his planet, and then eventually he gets drafted into the intergalactic war after it starts because his planet's on the front lines, and now he's seen his lifetime go from sticks and stones to laser gunship battles that end in black holes and devastation. He thought the war was going to end between his two countries, and now he's watched planets die, and he's having to come to terms with the scale of everything.
And would the story be like maybe like would it be during the war or after the war? We have to like deal with it.
I mean, dude, we really could do an insane like we could do a 3-parter, which has the Lizard Man going through his intergalactic war, him dealing with the scale of that. Then you have the kid, his whole life experience. You could even just ice him after he releases the government secrets. Just have the government kill him, which is a great spin, a great Banksian spin. Yeah. Then from there, you jump. So you have the kid, you have the religious guy who the kid meets before he gets iced. Then after he gets iced, you have the kid, you have the lizard. The lizard's the one who explains the religion to the kid through the simulations. And then you have the final part being the person who is like, his role is to explain the like moral degeneration of our society, where like we don't understand the weight of what we're given. We throw away and commoditize the beauty of being alive in this particular time period, and that's what his society does whenever they experience infinity, and they're just like, it's all meaningless. Everything that we experience is just futile struggling of everything.
Just Schopenhauer?
Yeah, exactly. Just Schopenhauer. And basically, so then you have the beautiful 3-part act of like, you have the war, then you have the torture from the government, and then you have, finally, the average person in society coming to terms with religion and watching society collapse. Dude, what the fuck? I mean, this is literally like a sci-fi story that could be like an epic.
So do the lizard people, they also have an interaction with infinity or something?
No, they have no clue they're infinity other than the one lizard man. Yeah. And he doesn't understand he's in a computer. He just understands exactly what we understand.
So does religion not exist at all in the galaxy? Like,
no, I'm sure they've got their own weird Christian bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? You could even maybe throw in the lizard guys are Earth, or which wouldn't be good. You only have one people being Earth. Maybe the lizard guys are Earth, or maybe the simulation people are Earth. I would say we stick with the simulation people being Earth. That way you have the 2 other characters being Earth. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, I would say if you're in the simulation, you should not be Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if the simulation, if the people in the simulation were going to be Earth, then you would have to make it with the people outside the simulation were absolutely not Earth.
It just feels like why, like if you're in a simulation,
it feels
infinity, and it's like, that was our planet. What is that doing, man?
It does. It feels terrible. But so we have the initial planet being Earth, and then we have the lizard people being on Zyklon B or whatever the fuck, and yeah, I mean, you can tell entertaining action.
Yeah.
Religious development of a man in war who is developing a purely materialist religion, which is what we were doing at first. You have a version of God as a child dealing with the horrors of himself. You have
a galactic apocalypse when the psychedelic infinity is distributed digitally.
That is supposed to mimic our current time, and it's supposed to speak about the ails of just living in current society with technology. Like, dude, we're not going to pull this off, but if we did, this could literally be the best book ever.
Yeah. And what is this? We could condense this down to a 5-minute video, but like that'd be very, very hard.
Well, this will be a million 5-minute videos. We'll be remaking this into 5 and 10-minute videos until the day we die. That's the whole point. Beautiful.
I could see, like, as we were talking about the story, Like you see a swirl, and then another swirl, and another swirl turns to a triangle of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. God, it bleeds. It all bleeds so perfectly together. Jesus. Scary. Like, we feel back on track. Perfectly now. Why at the end of the summer, goddammit?
Make the phone about to explode.
Yeah, for real. I would not be surprised if it said, in 3, 2, 1, the government will sell. Like, I had to throw it in the yard like a shrapnel bomb and watch it explode.
Alright, you got your video out. The lightning strikes us and kills us.